The Crows Know Your Name. Episode 1. They Only Gather for the Doomed. Welcome to another story made by Oracle 1. They began with 1. Lyra noticed it at dawn, perched on the crooked beam outside her window, head tilted as if studying her through the warped glass. Its feathers were too dark, blacker than soot, swallowing the early morning light rather than reflecting it. She sat up slowly, heart thudding, the thin wool blanket slipping from her shoulders. "Shoo," she muttered. The crow didn't move. It blinked once. Then, as if satisfied, it turned its head toward the rising sun, and another landed beside it. Then another. By the time Lyra had dressed, there were 7. They lined the beam, the ledge, the broken gutter. Silent, watching, she stepped back from the window. "This city," she whispered, forcing a weak laugh. "Of course it has crows." Valenreach was known for many things: its towering stone walls, its sprawling market districts, its uneasy peace between humans, elves, and dwarves. But most of all, it was known for its crows. They nested in the highest towers, haunted the alleyways, picked at refuse along the riverbanks. Still, this felt different. Lyra had arrived only 3 days ago. 3 days since she left her village behind, the smoke, the ash, the silence where laughter once lived. 3 days since she promised herself she would start over in this city of stone and strangers. 3 days, and now this. She grabbed her satchel and forced herself to leave the room. When she returned that evening, they were still there. By the third morning, the number had doubled. They no longer perched quietly. They shifted, rustled, hopped along the ledge. Their claws scraped faintly against the wood, a sound that set Lyra's teeth on edge. "Enough," she snapped, throwing open the shutters. The crows didn't scatter. Instead, they all turned toward her at once. Every single one, their black eyes fixed on hers. Lyra froze. A chill crept down her spine, not from fear alone, but from something deeper. Recognition. As if the moment meant more than she understood. "Go," she whispered. One crow stepped forward, not physically closer, but somehow more present. Its form seemed sharper than the others, its feathers edged in a faint sheen like oil on water. It opened its beak and spoke. "Lyra." The sound was wrong. Not a human voice. Not even close. It was layered, like several whispers overlapping, shaped into her name with unsettling precision. Lyra staggered back. "No," she breathed. "No, that's not." The crow tilted its head. "Lyra." She slammed the shutters shut. Her hands shook so badly she could barely latch them. "That didn't happen," she whispered to herself. "Birds don't speak. Not like that. Not my name." But deep down, she knew. It had not guessed. It had known. The market was louder than usual that day. Voices clashed, carts rattled over uneven stone, merchants shouted their wares. But beneath it all, there was a tension Lyra couldn't quite place. A current running just below the surface. She pushed through the crowd, clutching her satchel tighter than necessary. Out of the way, a dwarf grumbled as he brushed past, his beard braided with copper rings that clinked softly. "Sorry," Lyra muttered. She needed work, needed coin, needed something to anchor her in this place before the city swallowed her whole. Instead, she found whispers. Another one this morning. Fell right from the tower. Crows were already there. Lyra slowed. "What happened?" she asked a nearby woman stacking loaves of bread. The woman hesitated, then leaned closer. "Dockworker," she said quietly. "Name of Harlan. Good man. Healthy. Just dropped dead in the street." Lyra frowned. "That happens sometimes. Not like this," the woman insisted. "Not with the crows." A cold weight settled in Lyra's stomach. "What about them?" The woman's eyes darted around, as if afraid the birds might be listening. "They were there before he fell," she whispered. "Circling. Watching. Like they were waiting." Lyra's throat went dry. "Waiting for what?" The woman shook her head. For him to die. That night, Lyra didn't sleep. She sat by the window, staring at the closed shutters, listening. At first, there was nothing. Then, scratch. A claw against wood. Then another. Then a soft, collective rustling, like feathers brushing against each other in the dark. "Go away," Lyra whispered. Silence. For a moment, she thought they had listened. Then the voice returned. Lyra. Closer this time. Right outside the shutter. Her breath hitched. "I don't know you," she said, forcing the words out. "Leave me alone." A pause. Then, "You will." The shutters creaked. Lyra lunged forward, pressing her hands against them as if she could hold the world outside at bay. "Stop it," she shouted. The scratching ceased. The silence that followed was worse. The next morning, the street below her window was crowded. Lyra pushed through the gathering, dread coiling tight in her chest. A body lay on the cobblestones. An elf. His silver hair fanned around his head, his pale skin stark against the dark stone. His eyes were open, wide, frozen in a terror that lingered even in death. Lyra recognized him. She had passed him the day before, a merchant dealing in carved bone trinkets. He had smiled at her. Now he was gone. And above him, perched on every available surface, were crows. Dozens of them, watching, waiting. The same one from her window sat closest to the body. It turned its head slowly, looked directly at her, and in that moment, Lyra understood something she wished she didn't. They weren't watching the dead elf. They were watching her. A hand grabbed her arm. "You shouldn't be here." Lyra turned sharply. The man who stood beside her was tall, cloaked in dark green, his ears slightly pointed, half-elf, then. His eyes were sharp, searching. "Let go of me," she snapped. He didn't. "You saw them, didn't you?" he said quietly. Before this happened, Lyra's pulse spiked. "I don't know what you're talking about." He studied her for a long moment, then sighed. "They gather before death," he said. "Always have. It's an old thing. Older than the city. Older than the races that built it." Lyra shook her head. "That's superstition, is it?" he asked. He gestured toward the body. "Second one this week. Both marked." "Marked how?" The man hesitated. Then he nodded toward her window above. Lyra followed his gaze. Her breath caught. The beam outside her room was black with crows. More than she had ever seen. More than should have fit. "They don't gather like that for everyone," the man said softly. "Only for those who are about to die." The words hit her like a blow. "That's not, no, they're just birds." The crow on the beam spread its wings. "Lyra." The whisper carried down the street. The crowd fell silent. Every head turned. Every eye found her. The man's grip tightened. "They've started speaking to you," he said. It wasn't a question. Lyra felt the world tilt. "How do you know that?" His expression darkened. "Because," he said, "the last person they spoke to didn't live long enough to tell anyone else." The crow tilted its head again. "Lyra." This time, there was something else in the sound. Not just her name. A promise. Or a warning. Lyra took a step back. Then another. Her heart pounded, each beat louder than the last. "No," she whispered. "No, this isn't happening." But the crows did not leave. They only gathered. More arriving by the second, filling the sky above the street, their wings blotting out the light. The man released her arm. "You need to run," he said. Lyra shook her head, tears stinging her eyes. "Run where?" He didn't answer. Because they both knew. There was nowhere to go. The crows already knew her name. And they only gathered for the doomed. End of episode 1. For more stories, like and subscribe.